Hi everyone. This video walks through completing Packet Tracer Assignment 3.5.5, Configuring DTP. This lab is a part of the Cisco Switching, Routing, and Wireless Essentials version 7 Cisco Networking Academy curriculum. Now, our previous two lab assignments in Module 3 have dealt with configuring VLANs and naming them. So we configure the VLANs by numbering them, and then we can also assign a name for our purposes. But remember, the switches really only care about the VLAN number because it tags all the traffic with that specific number. Also, we learned how to configure if we want only one VLAN to be traveling a specific link, like to our end devices, we usually put those in access mode. We did also do a voice VLAN, and that was for where a switch was plugged to a phone, and then that phone was plugged into the computer to share links. So it had VLAN 10 traffic, or any VLAN traffic could be assigned, plus a separate voice VLAN. So those can be carried across the access link port, but those are configured a little bit differently. We also looked at the need to carry, like for instance, from switch to switch, like switch 2 to switch 1 or switch 1 to switch 3, to carry multiple VLANs. That is a need, and we put those in trunking mode, and they need to be in trunking mode on each end of those gigabit or any fast Ethernet or whatever trunk link you need. It needs to be the same on each end from switch to switch in trunking mode. Also, the native VLAN must match on each end. Otherwise, we saw in our previous lab, it does not work correctly. So they have you do a show VLAN brief and show that you've got a VLAN 99 and a VLAN 999, a native active and a management active. They want us to basically create two new VLANs on switch 2 and then name them. So we're going to go to switch 2 here and config T. And we're doing VLAN and the number, so it's VLAN 10. I'm getting straight from that chart there, name red. Remember, if you want to just type VLAN 20 here, it doesn't name the previous one VLAN 20 or anything, it just literally creates VLAN 20. And then name blue. Remember case sensitivity for the grading of the lab, VLAN 30, and then name yellow. So we created those VLANs. It says verify the new addition, so we can do the do show VLAN brief command, and we see those there, 10, 20, and 30, red, blue, yellow. All right, it says repeat the same steps to create additional VLANs on switch 3. So let's go over to switch 3. And I'm going to do the same exact commands. So I'm going to do enable config T, VLAN 10, name red, VLAN 20, name blue, VLAN 30, name yellow. Now you see I'm making some typos there before I press enter. If you actually do create one that you don't mean to, you can always just do the no VLAN and then whatever number, and it will take it completely out. All right, so here we can do the show VLAN brief since we are not all the way backed out. So we can still do our command. You see there 10, 20, 30, and 99 and 999 were still there as well. So we're going to assign some access modes here with the switchport access VLAN command. We've already done that, and the number and switchport mode access. We've done that before, and we are doing this on the switch. So 1 through 8, we want to do that whole range, all right, and we want to do that for switch 2, and we're going to do that whole range mode access VLAN 10, the whole range of 9 through 16 for just VLAN 20, and our end devices do fit in that range. All right, so on switch 2 here, we're going to configure interface range. Here, let me move this before I start typing here. All right, interface range, they want FA01 through 8, and we're going to do switch port mode access. It puts them all in 1 through 8 in access mode, switch port access VLAN 10. So all of them will be in VLAN 10. Interface range FA09 through 16, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 20. Remember, the good thing about it is the range command, we don't have to go in and out of all of these ports. However, you do want to make sure before using it that you literally want the exact same thing configured on all of those ports. And this one's VLAN 30 for 17 through 24. All right, it says assign ports to switch 3 using the same method and the same idea there. So on switch 3, interface range FA01 through 8, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10, interface range FA09 through 16, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 20, interface range FA017 through 24, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 30. All right. So now that we've got that, we're going to configure the trunk links between S1 and S2. Now again, those are these here between S1 and S2 and S1, G01 to G01, and S1 to S3, G02 to G02. So they want you to put it in a different modes here to try to negotiate if it's going to need to be a trunk link. Now, if we just do switch port mode trunk, it's just going to automatically be in trunk all the time. If we do something like dynamic desirable or something like that, it's actually going to kind of see what the other end is. If it's access mode, then it will switch to access mode. If it's trunk mode, it'll actually switch to trunk mode. So it depends on what the other end is. In a real world situation, if you know it's supposed to be trunk, I just put them both in trunk. But here they kind of play around with the different modes. So let's actually go to switch 1 here. And that's where we're entering these commands. Enable, config T, interface G01, and we're doing switch port mode dynamic desirable. Again, it will automatically see what it needs to negotiate between the other end. All right, so on G02, we're just going to straight out put it into trunking mode, switch port mode trunk, and then switch port negotiate, non-negotiate. So basically that just means it's going to always be in trunking mode. It's not going to try to negotiate anything else. All right, it will also show you the dynamic trunking protocol, show DTP will show you that, as well as show interfaces trunk, and it will show you that as well if it is properly in trunking mode. Here, still on S1, we're going to do interface range and affect both sides, G01 through 2, switch port trunk, because remember that native VLAN is important and they use 999 here. And they show you get that inconsistent local VLAN command. Okay, now it says issue the, now we're going to reconfigure this on S3. It says issue the show interfaces trunk command and see the mode. What is the mode and encapsulation of G02 after the change, and so on. It says correct the configuration as necessary. So to correct that, if you kind of look at your show VLAN brief, right, we've got that management and the native there. You can go to the other ones and correct that as well. So to correct this issue, if you notice, there's a orange light here. So that means something's not right between S1 and S3. Now that we change these both to 999, which is the native VLAN, and we can always check that if you go to, and they told us to do it, right? But if you don't take their word for it, if you do a show VLAN brief, the native VLAN is 999. So if we go to S3 and go into interface G02 and we make sure switch port native VLAN 999, whoops, switch port trunk native VLAN 999, and make sure we also put it in switch port mode trunk. All right, we got our state to up. Then on S2, we need to go, oh, and we also need to type in the non-negotiate. All right, if you ever forget, switch port, oh, let me put that out there. Switch port trunk, or sorry, switch port. And then if you hit that, non-negotiate, all right. And then, so it's not trying to negotiate with the other end. And then same thing on S2 here. See, it's got that mismatch now. So we need to go into interface G01, switch port mode trunk, switch port non-negotiate, and then switch port trunk native VLAN 999. All right. And then we also, lastly, the directions really don't tell you to, but you're at 90% right now. If you go to check results, it shows you that the VLANs were not ever created on switch 1. So we need to go do that. All right. So we need to make sure to correct that. So if we go back to close here and we're doing red, yellow, red, blue, yellow for our different ones here. We're going to go to config mode, VLAN 10, name red, VLAN 20, name blue, and VLAN 30, name yellow. And now we're at 100% for our lab assignment.